So welcome back to my Deus Ex series, and I want to make a quick apology because I know I had started this series and got pretty far into it, and the reason why I kind of took a little bit of a break is because my computer ended up not being able to handle a lot of the streaming capabilities that I was trying to do. I was making some videos like this, and my audio would be choppy at sections, or some of the frame rates would be dropping, and it became basically would be unwatchable, and computer just could not handle it. So I recently upgraded, went with a AMD 3900X, and I'm pretty impressed with that so far. So I'm very excited to get back into this series. So when we left off, the helicopter from Jock actually took us here to Vandenberg Air Force Base, and we are following the Majestic 12 and Men in Black. Now, they are actually trying to restart the Universal Constructor, and they are looking for a few of those parts in order to do that. So I'm going to go jump down into here, and we're going to hear an important conversation about why they're actually here and who sent them.
We've got to pull out.
Negative.
Without reinforcements,
The components are within this building. We will not leave until the reaction modules are in my pocket.
we don't have the manpower to hold the base.
You should have requested more men. That is your blunder, not mine.
We don't have time to argue about...
I have an assignment from Bob Page, and I intend to complete it.
Yes, sir.
So there we hear that the Men in Black was given a very specific instruction from Bob Page to get the reaction modules, and we are assuming that is because the Universal Constructor, we destroyed the one in Hong Kong, we destroyed the Ocean Lab, so they're trying to desperately restart this, and he has sent Majestic 12 to Vandenberg Air Force Base to get these.
Let's see how well you can follow orders.
I will die before I betray Dr. Savage.
You will be permitted to work in one of our laboratories, but you must be willing to follow orders.
You might as well kill me now.
Come on, position the dynamite as I instructed.
I did enough of your
Who the hell?
So I just cleared out the area, and here is one of the scientists, and we're going to go ahead and talk to her. And, earlier the Majestic 12 troop was like, hey, do what we say. He wants her to move dynamite, which is kind of interesting.
You all right?
Where the hell are the bots? They're supposed to exterminate these...
MJ-12 cut the power to the defense system, but don't worry, the situation's under control.
Except for the control room, this building has been totally overrun.
Maybe I can do something about that.
Be careful of our defense systems. MJ-12 reprogrammed them and locked our accounts. There's a back door, but I haven't been able to try it out. Log in command, password Zebra42.
Thanks for the warning.
So we learn here that Majestic 12 basically came in, lowered the existing defenses of Vandenberg Air Force Base, and reinstalled their own. And she's like, what is going on? So they're forcing the scientists to kind of do what they have asked them to do. So this is a computer in the main room, and it is from Gary Savage and to Area 51 here. I'll leave this up here for just a second. Kind of has some pretty decent information in it. So we reach an area in Vandenberg Air Force Base here, and we see some familiar faces in here, one of those being Sam Carter. And we have to kind of decide, there's Daedalus and Icarus, and Daedalus is saying, if you mess with me, I'm ready to have revenge. And then you have Icarus saying, please basically let me out. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. Can't go in here just yet, so we're going to go ahead and talk to Sam Carter.
Mr. Carter,
Yep, they ran the old dog out.
you were dismissed?
All of us career types. They want cadets who've never been anywhere except UNATCO and the UNATCO Academy.
Easier to manage, I suppose.
Time to come out here and lend a hand. I knew what Savage was up against. I just didn't want to admit it.
It's an honor to have you with us, sir.
All right, enough bawling our eyes out. We've got work to do. I didn't want to admit that UNATCO could be corrupted, but finally, I had to leave.
So it sounds like they are basically bringing in fresh faces and fresh troops, and getting out the old that would kind of challenge their ways is what you kind of get out of that conversation.
I'm Dr. Savage. Thank you. We were close to surrendering when you landed.
J.C. Denton. I'm working with Morgan Everett of the Illuminati. He's developed a cure for the Grey Death, and we were hoping to get time on your UC to manufacture it.
Everett contacted me just before the attack. Naturally, we'll manufacture the cure once the computer's back up and we get a containment unit for the UC.
How close are you to being operational?
My daughter's on an expedition to the ocean lab right now to find a schematic for the containment vessel. But Lord knows when the computer will be back up. It was damaged during the attack.
I'll look at it. In addition to the UC, Everett and I need your connection to the MillNet.
Yes, he said something about an artificial intelligence. The Echelon system. Something called Icarus and Daedalus.
Another attack happening as we speak. I'll explain later.
Well, the main terminal is in the room at the top of the stairs. Log in G Savage, password Tiffany. I'll open the doors. I would say it's too dangerous. A lot of damaged equipment and hot power lines up there. But until the computers are up, the UC's just a box of bolts.
So I realize this guy kind of looks like that guy from Breaking Bad that cooks meth, and I don't know. I just thought that was pretty funny.
It won't be easy getting back there.
Couple of things in the email over here. One from Sam Carter, talking about the long time and his ability, or his time in the service. UNATCO Academy. I'll go ahead and leave those up there just a second. So nothing too crazy. So we're going to go ahead and basically get this computer up and running. So here I am in the next room, and I'm about to upload the MillNet. And a transmission is going to come through.
I am.
I'm losing Daedalus.
Yes.
Hold on, something's...
You forgot about the Aquinas Protocol. I was listening to Daedalus all along, waiting.
The AIs seem to be merging.
And I have another surprise, Denton. Find Savage in the control room. I have an announcement.
Something went wrong, JC. I'm looking into it.
Excellent. We're all here.
You aren't in a position to make any demands, Paige.
On the contrary, my mission might have failed, but so did yours. I captured your daughter an hour ago.
Tiffany.
She's been quite forthcoming. So you were hoping to find a containment unit in the ocean lab?
I demand to see my daughter immediately.
Well, like you, we lack certain components of a universal constructor. The reaction modules you stole when you left Area 51 to go into business for yourself.
Don't negotiate.
Oh yes, Mr. Denton. I wanted you here for a reason. Look at me. You interfere in any way, I will kill that young woman. I mean it. I want those components, Savage. You will bring them to the abandoned gas station west of Vandenberg in exactly 1 hour.
You hurt my daughter, and I swear to God.
Bring me the reaction modules.
I don't think we have a choice. Oh, I should have never let her go.
Page will resume production of the Plague if he gets the components to build a UC.
I know. But I can't let them kill Tiffany.
Tell them you're sending someone with the components. I'll have my pilot drop me off where they're holding your daughter. Maybe I can rescue her.
That's too risky.
We don't have a choice. Trust me. She'll be fine.
Yes, we've got to try it. Just don't let anything happen to her. Mr. Denton, thank you. Here's a photograph so that you can identify her.
Something unexpected happened when I brought up the computer.
Yes?
The AIs joined together into an entity called Helios. A trap Page had laid.
He's always controlled communications. We can't challenge him there.
I hope you keep the UC on a local network.
The Aquinas Protocol leaves us no choice but to stay offline. You simply can't use Internet 3 without a machine at Area 51 knowing about it. I don't know what Everett was expecting to accomplish.
I guess it backfired, whatever his plans were.
JC, if you find my daughter, tell her I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had to risk her life.
So we see here that Bob Page actually did control both of those aspects of the two AIs, so he was able to monitor them, and they merged into Helios, the ones being Icarus and Daedalus there.
Do you think I'm doing the right thing? Going after Savage's daughter?
Absolutely. Never negotiate with a terrorist.
Tiffany could lose her life.
Never negotiate. You will only encourage more acts of terror. Besides, you're gonna bring Tiffany back alive.
Yes, sir. I'll do what I can to get her back. Know much about the Echelon system?
Bits and pieces. Why?
Morgan Everett just had me connect 2 Echelon AIs together. They've merged to form an entity called Helios.
Sounds like Everett was making a play for power, and it backfired.
What does that do for Majestic 12?
I'm not sure. UNATCO was aware that the dataless system had become unreliable, but no one knew why. Icarus was the same system with a few modifications.
Page seemed to think he had won.
Perhaps. The NSA's had the internet hardwired through Area 51 since the 30s. But if components of Daedalus are still active, I would bet his control is less than absolute.
I hope you're right. Thanks.
So there we learn a little bit more about the history of Daedalus and Icarus, with one of them being basically the same thing with a few modifications. And one of them just happened to basically sprout back online. So it's kind of interesting that all the communications were routed through Area 51.
I'm free.
How's it going?
Down, man. It's going down and it keeps going down.
You're a long way from a city. How do you get by out here?
We were living in the gas station.
They threw us out.
The soldiers?
Yeah, I'm gonna sneak in there while they're sleeping and start a fire.
If you ever did one thing you talked about doing.
I know my business, woman.
I'm going in there right now. What's the best way?
Myself, I was gonna take the sewer. See, I got a key.
Mind if I borrow it?
Sure, man. You go in first and scout around. I'll go later when they're fast asleep and won't suspect a thing. Need any hardware? The Army used to have a command post up there. I found weapon mods for accuracy and recoil, which you can have for $750 and $400. Also a rebreather. How about $1,500?
Here's $400.
Give 'em hell.
JC, remember me?
Sandra, what are you doing in California?
Long story.
So here we are in the place where they have captured Tiffany, which is Gary Savage's daughter, and we run into a very familiar face, which is Sandra.
I don't have to...
You weren't kidding about leaving New York.
Here I am, other side of the continent.
How'd you end up at a vacant gas station near the ruins of Los Angeles?
I was hitching a ride to Eugene and this jerk pulls a gun on me, takes everything I have, and dumps me on the side of the road.
That's terrible.
I was pretty down for a while.
You can always go back.
No, I know how to stick to a plan. I'll walk to Eugene if I have to.
Well, good luck.
Thanks. Believe it or not, sometimes I miss the Ton and Janie and Jordan Shea and all the rest of it.
So that's just kind of an update. It's kind of interesting that we bump into her here in California. She did tell us that she was going to go to the other side. Like she said, she's going to make it somewhere out of New York, and she did. But just kind of an interesting thing to run into her again. So there are a couple of ways that you can do this. Obviously, if you alert the guards in this area, they will come in to this door. There is a 1 Majestic 12 troop and 1 Men in Black, and they will kill Tiffany. I actually usually just pop down. There's actually a vent on top of here. I throw a couple of gas grenades, come in, kill the troops really quick, and then this door is actually unlocked.
Your father sent me. You all right?
They caught me at the submarine base trying to steal one of their mini-subs.
You really think there's a containment unit in the ocean lab?
All we need's a schematic, as long as the main computer isn't waterlogged.
We'll talk about that later. Come on, let's go.
I'm not going back to that base. You want to check it out? Great. Here's a map that shows a back way into the sub-base.
I'll check it out. But first, let's get you out of here. Make a break for the helicopter. It's in the junkyard.
Got it.
I always remember playing this
sure
game.
It's safe?
And remembering, like, what is wrong with her face?
Yes, you'll go to the ocean lab. You'll help me acquire the universal constructor.
Still looking at this Helios entity. Not sure how Page can control it.
Let's go.
Good, you both made it. Dr. Savage will be relieved.
Can you take her back to Vandenberg while I check out the submarine base? I'm gonna make another try to reach the Ocean Labs UC.
Sure, I'll drop you off on the way.
So if you were to mistakenly set off the alarms and Tiffany was killed, Jock would actually just land in a different area, and he'll just, or I'm sorry, in the same area, and he'll just say, meet me at the junkyard, you know, oh, Tiffany was dead. So there's always a couple of different ways in this game that you can go, which is kind of cool. But now we head off to our next area. So when we first arrive at the Ocean Lab, we come in this direction over here. This is one of the first places you can actually go in, which is like this little guard's hut. And we see dead soldiers. So we can see that possibly, at this point, Majestic 12 has possibly taken over this base with lethal force, is what we're led to believe. So here we are in the underground lab. Not really a whole lot in the beginning, besides that guard that was killed, and you can kind of tell that Majestic 12 did take over the base. But this is kind of a cool area, not so much in the fact of lore, but just a really neat area to kind of explore. This is an underwater lab. You can kind of see the fish around here. There's a spot where there's like scuba divers that are basically guards that are on the outside. It's really, really cool. As far as other aspects, there are some scientists, and Gary Savage does tell you that they're probably, most of them are going to be on your side because they were taken over quite violently, actually, from the Majestic 12 people. So they came in, they said basically if you don't want to work, you can either die or you can be moved to a different base. So most of them chose to kind of work with them. The other cool part of this is the submarines. We will actually be able to take a submarine to the next part of the base. It's kind of cool. And I noticed that the propellers were not moving right there. That's kind of funny. So we come up just a little bit after we get off the subway, and still in the underground lab, we can kind of still see the ocean out here. And we come up to this level. I did kill this guy, but I cannot take responsibility for anybody else. I do not kill civilians in this game, I promise. So all of these scientists are actually dead. I mean, it was a massacre. Even in here, I mean, everybody is pretty much dead. I'm going to run into here, and I've got to hack this
Not every door was sealed against explosions.
Lead the way, Denton.
And we can hear Bob Page kind of coming on the microphone there, kind of taunting us a little bit. There's not too much as far as lore in here. I hacked a couple of these computers. We'll have to go a little bit deeper into this level. So we are still in the underground lab here, and you can kind of still see outside. The scientist was already dead. A lot of these scientists are actually already dead. Really, really cool kind of layout. You can kind of see the entire base over here. We're actually in the underground ocean lab still, and here is a book that kind of goes a little bit over the Universal Constructor and kind of has some interesting lore to it. The thing at the very bottom I thought was kind of funny was the gray goo. I thought that was kind of funny. And in another room right by that one, we find a newspaper. The interesting thing about this one is down towards the bottom, it actually says that a person was actually relieved of their command, and Walter Simons, director of the FEMA, actually takes over. I thought that was very, very interesting, kind of showing that UNATCO and Majestic 12 kind of further taking over that control.
Yes, you will defeat the security network. It is confused. Yes, expecting a breach with no problems.
Do you see the pieces coming together? You see, AI and soon Helios will interface directly with my mind. I will be able to see anything, build anything, do anything. Just a little further, Denton.
So this is interesting, and towards the end it'll unlock one of the 4 endings that you can get, but it's kind of a premonition of what Bob Page is saying here, is that he expects to merge his mind with Helios, which was a merge of Daedalus and Icarus, and the Universal Constructor. So it's kind of interesting, and we'll see that here in just a second. So in here we are just downstairs from the area we just were, and it's where the main Universal Constructor is. When we go in this little closet room, I thought this was interesting. There's a whole bunch of the nanovirus storage containers in here, so you know that they're getting ready to construct that on a mass scale again now that we've kind of disrupted their operations. Now in this main room over here, which is actually very close to where we came in, we actually came in over here. And when you walk in, we can see the Universal Constructors. This is really, really a neat area. So now we are downstairs. Now that our elevator lift has been restored, this was actually closed last time, as you remember. We can go ahead and view the Universal Constructor in all its glory. And here is one last look at the Universal Constructor before we go ahead and head out of here.
Step over to the communicator. I have something to say. In case you were wondering, Helios intercepted your transmission. We accessed the Ocean Lab computers ourselves, which means our UCs will be operational shortly.
Meanwhile, we will be manufacturing a cure to the virus.
A cure? A cure? Do you have any idea how easy it will be for me to make a new virus? All I have to do is find a very large prime number and multiply.
And all we have to do is crack the code.
Mathematically unlikely, as are your chances of leaving the Ocean Lab, by the way.
Your next page. Your greatest strength was secrecy. But now we know everything, including your present location.
Always the optimist. You would need an army to attack me at Area 51, and pretty soon, if the missile is accurate, your X-51 will be a thin, gray smudge where Vandenberg used to be.
So here we are. We're about to leave the base, and as we go up, we get a couple of transmissions here.
We've picked up a submarine approaching the URV bay. It could be an ambush. Hurry!
You ended up working for us anyway. How ironic.
So it's interesting that Walter Simons would come in and kind of explain that we have been helping him anyway. It's a little bit of premonition, so we may see him later. Hint, hint.
Remember that NSF gentleman I had to dispatch back at UNATCO headquarters? Guess you were bitten by the same bug. There's only one cure, you know, once you have the disease. If you recall our chat in the break room at UNATCO, you know that I have the same augmentation technology as you.
Then this will be a good fight?
With the exception that I have a newer version of the firmware.
So the easiest way to beat Walter Simons here on the Deus Ex revision I found is to have the thermo camo. And go ahead and equip that, and then he's going to come in and talk. Now, this is different than the regular version. The revision is a little bit more difficult.
You can't take me, JC. I've seen your specs. Make it easy on yourself, JC.
And that's how you beat Walter Simons. Like I said, I just used the thermo camo and the dragon claw. That seemed to work out pretty well. And then he actually has the plasma rifle in his inventory if in case you wanted to switch that out. And this is kind of cool. When we're walking up, we see one of the MJ-12 troops over here, and then there's Karkians in here, which are very, very tough enemies. There's actually some tools and things like that if you happen to want to go that route. But I'm going to go ahead and just meet Jock at the airport.
You made it.
How long until the UC is up?
Tonight, if the schematics are accurate. But we have another problem.
Page said he was launching a missile at Vandenberg.
Exactly. His troops occupied a silo to the north of here.
Has he made any demands?
The launch sequence has started. No demands. They want to wipe us out.
I'll have Jock get me there as quick as he can.
Good. Hey, thanks again for saving my daughter. I brought you something from the lab. A token of my appreciation.
Not necessary.
Take it. You might want to upgrade your systems. Sooner or later, you'll have to face Bob Page.
So that's kind of the difference there when we, if we did not save Tiffany back at the garage, so if she were killed because we got caught, we would not have gotten that upgrade canister there.
We'll take care of Tong. Don't worry.
Let's go.
The control room is underground. The security code we have is 8456, but that's an old piece of trivia from our days at Area 51. I doubt it still works on all of the doors.
So here we have arrived at the missile silo base that Bob Page was talking about, where he was going to basically destroy Vandenberg. And Dr. Savage kind of talked a little bit about that, but this is actually the missile silo base now. Our goal is to disarm and stop that launch from happening. So inside of this building, which is right inside of where we just actually were, we started out over here on my cursor, just kind of walked around. But in this building, there's a book, and it talks about the first reconnaissance company log. And they say that there was initial resistance, and there's basically a bunch of scientists. Most of them were basically unarmed. And as we can see, most of them look like they were killed. One of them was captured, and one of them has a question mark by him. And it just talks about the different... Basically, they stormed this base and took over the missile silo. So I enter the underground bunker, and there's a couple of neat things in here. So in the earlier book that we had, I showed out that the scientists, most of them were deceased, but one of them was left alive. So here's a data cube. And it talks about a guy named Howard Strong. Now, up until this point, we really haven't heard a lot about him, but it does mention that we're given permission to kill all of the scientists, civilians, whatever it may be. Walter Simons wanted one left alive for interrogation, and we can assume that it is this person right here.
Why are you locked in the bathroom?
Closest thing we have to a jail cell.
And?
I found out about Howard Strong. He's the reason we're about to nuke Vandenberg.
Who's Strong?
You won't believe me.
Go ahead.
He's an agent for a secret high-level conspiracy called Majestic 12.
Interesting.
I'm not crazy. The guys in the black uniforms aren't U.S. soldiers. Ever since they got here, Strong's been in charge.
I didn't call you crazy.
So there he talks a little bit more about this Howard Strong. He's basically a Majestic 12 person, and he is actually in charge, and he is kind of running this operation here at the missile silo. So here I am about to shut down the missile launch, and I'm going to go ahead and abort this.
Launch aborted. Now use the terminal at the side of the room to reprogram the missile.
Now I found this interesting. When you go to operate this terminal, it says Page Industries right here, which is kind of interesting.
Launch sequence initiated. It's going to be a sunny day at Area 51.
Just like your lab work, Savage. Premature celebration.
You've got about 10 minutes, Paige.
As a scientist, you should have learned to expect surprises.
JC, go to the silo. Make sure no one interferes with this launch.
And here's the scientist from earlier that was locked away.
I took care of the missile. It's on its way to Area 51.
You think you can take out Bob Page? Not likely. Not as long as Strong is alive. He'll destroy the rocket on the ground if he has to.
I'm on my way to the silo right now.
I heard the guards talking. They've set up an ambush.
Yeah? Where?
The main passage? No way around it. But there's a false floor at one stretch. Maybe you can take cover down there.
Thanks. I'll look for it.
So we hear from him there's an ambush waiting for us, so I'm going to go ahead and basically see what's happening with this redirected launch. So at this point, I have cleared out the entire building of enemies, and the agent that was in charge of this facility, I did kill him at the very bottom, so the missile will be heading towards the Bob Page assets, so he is not very happy about that. And we are now going to meet Jock at the very top.
Now on to Area 51, JC. Page will be weakened. This is our chance.
And now we are on to Area 51, the final chapter of the game.
Let's get out of here. There's a hero's welcome waiting for you at Vandenberg.
We're going to Area 51.
Alone? Don't you think we should regroup first?
I'm going after Bob Page.
And this is Area 51, Rachel, Nevada. This is the final part of the game, and it has different layers. And when we get to the very end, I'm going to show all the different ways that you can get through this, including the various endings. So here we are in the entrance of Area 51, just around from where we started here. And we can see the damage that has been done by the bomb that we sent off. And a lot of the Majestic 12 and Commandos were already dead in the area. But something interesting, when I went to walk into this tower, Tracer Tong, if you remember, a little bit back, he said he does have the Gray Death virus when we were in Vandenberg. He was a little worried about it. And he said it's in remission and that Bob Page put in some kind of failsafe. So it means that Bob Page is basically on the run, and we have trapped him almost in Area 51. But there's still some things left that he has up his sleeve, but it is kind of nice that we are kind of pushing back. So just wanted to kind of show this base. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video off here, and I'm going to make a final part, and that will be all of the endings and kind of wrap up of this series. I appreciate everyone for watching, and thank you.